Hi everyone, thank you for watching this video on our paper for HRI 2023. My name is Anouk Nerings and today I'm going to tell you about the research that we did at a group vaccination day with children interacting with a robot displaying emotional gestures or not. And we're going to look into the effects of these emotional gestures, particularly on child's engagement. So first of all, why would we want to deploy a social robot in the waiting room of a vaccination day? Well, children often are stressed during medical interventions, but also very often before the medical intervention takes place, for example, in a waiting room. Also, social robots have been proven to be able to provide some kind of degree of mental support, but the question here remains is how should we design these robot interactions? And we are particularly interested in the potentials of social robots to reduce anxiety and fear, for example, during vaccinations, to increase trust, which is essential for a successful treatment, but also to increase engagement of the child in the treatment. And we found that emotional behavior of a robot can actually increase all those things. So that's why we wanted to look into the direct effect of emotional gestures on anxiety, fear, trust, and engagement. We therefore have two research questions. First of all, we want to look into the direct effect of emotional gesturing on child's engagement. And second of all, we want to look into the effect of emotional gesturing on anxiety, fear, and trust levels, and look into the effect of those measurements on engagement. Our first research question will therefore be, how does emotional gesturing in a socially assistive robot influence child's engagement and interaction during a group vaccination event? And the first part of our second research question would be, how does emotional gesturing in a socially assistive robot influence child's anxiety, fear, and trust? And lastly, our final research question is, what are the effects of child's anxiety, fear, and trust on child's engagement during an interaction with a socially assistive robot? To give a short overview, here are the two research questions again with the three parts. As mentioned before, we're going to implement a social robot at a group vaccination event where the robot will be placed in the waiting area to provide information to the children by means of showing an informative video on its screen, and also by being a fun distraction here in the waiting room. Here you can see the setup of the vaccination day, where the child would first come in with the parents. Then we were there and we would ask the child and the parent if the child wanted to participate in our research. They would provide informed consent. Then the first questionnaire would be filled out, after which the first interaction with the robot would take place. After watching the video on the robot, the child and the parent would continue in the line while filling out the second part of the questionnaire. Then they would get the vaccine, and after receiving the vaccine, they would hand out the questionnaire to one of our researchers. Then they also had the opportunity to talk to the robot again and share their vaccination experience. The reason why we did this was to not intervene with the flow of the vaccination day, and we wanted to give every child the chance to see the robot and not have to come back in line to see the robot again. Here you can see the video that the robot displayed in the first interaction, together with the gestures it was executing. The video that was displayed on the robot is shown in the left bottom corner, and I also provided subtitles, even though the video was, of course, in Dutch. The robot would either display emotional gestures, so the gestures shown in this video, or no gestures at all. We choose gestures with high levels of arousal and positive valence, which was based on previous research. The reason for that was to first increase levels of distraction, but also to make the informative video, to match the informative video displayed on the robot, which had a very happy and positive vibe. Furthermore, we hoped that the positive gestures would help with mood contagion, making the child also feel more happy while waiting. So to measure our interactions, we used several methods. We used self-report questionnaires where we looked into the self-reported engagement, the pre and post fear, the trust and the pre and post anxiety reported by the children themselves. And we used also observation methods where you would video record the interaction and then use a coding scheme to code the engagement levels, which was done by 2 independent researchers. So our first main results shows us that the engagement observed as well as self-reported engagement is indeed higher in the emotional gestures condition as we expected. Second of all, the mean anxiety in the emotional gestures condition was actually reduced, so the children were less anxious after meeting the robot, even though that was before they received the vaccine. And finally, we also saw a very small difference in trust, where the children actually trusted the robot that did not display emotional gestures more compared to the robot that did display emotional gestures. So for the discussion of our results, first of all, we found that the use of emotional gestures indeed leads to higher engagement, which we already thought. Second, we found that emotional gestures can lead to lower anxiety in the children. And we also found that a higher engagement could also cause more trust in the robot. Since this was a real-world study, we gained various insights, but also experienced some limitations during the experiments. Running a real-world robot experiment is a challenging task, as some of you might have experience with. For example, participants position themselves out of the video frames, or someone would obscure the view. For future research, we would like to also ask more specific questions to the children about their experience with the robot being present there. And our final conclusion, we found that the use of emotional gestures has a positive effect on stress levels in children. A benefit of using gesticulation here is that it's easier to grab the attention of children in a noisy and distracting environment. For future studies, we want to look at how children experience the robot being there to help them, and also look into personalizing the robot behavior towards a child to see if that's also even more helpful for lowering stress in children before undergoing a medical procedure. Thank you for watching this video, and please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any more questions or if you would like to collaborate in the future. Thanks.